What's going on, folks? It's the best gamer of all time, but I needed some help, so I decided to ask you guys, Reddit and some Discord friends, on what is the worst class and what is the best class in Space Marines 2. So this is a bit of my own opinion and opinion on others. We're going to be talking about CC, damage, survivability, but this is actually just going to be strictly for PvE. If you actually want me to talk about PvP, make sure you subscribe and actually hit that like button as well. Anyways, folks, let's get right into it. Coming in under C tier is the sniper class. He has great single target damage, but there is another class that I'll get into later that simply, in my opinion, does it better. My opinion, when taking out with elites with the sniper class, he does it very well, but when it comes down to hordes of monsters coming your way, there is a struggle with the CC. He has a combat knife, which is arguably not the best melee weapon in the game. Sniper class does have an ability where he can go invisible and position him somewhere else, but he can't do any action while invisible. That means no healing. So turning invisible doesn't exactly help out the team because you're putting pressure on two of the members of your squad just so you can reposition yourself. Sniper class can also have, has very low armor, which is like only 2 bars, which once again doesn't help out when the sniper class is being swarmed. For that reason, I believe he should be at C tier. Next class coming up is Assault. Assault is interesting because it was my first class I played. When I started to reach the other melee classes, I started to dive into their tree and weaponry. I found the Assault to be lacking in some areas. Basically the other class, which hopefully I'm not butchering it, which is Bulwark. I have dyslexia. So Bulwark having the skill, invigorating icon, which is when the banner is active, all squad members regain health, but at 50% slower, which is a great skill. But this is just one of the examples, of course, where the assault skills do not really have anything helping out your survivability or having any kind of crutch perk compared to the other classes. Although Assault in patch 12 really changed the game up, making the class's damage really top tier. Even though I still don't like his ability personally, I will play a clip from another YouTuber and maybe you can hear his opinion on patch 12 in his eyes.
His damage was god-awful, his mobility was still good, but not as good as it is now, and really, he suffered from terrible perks, a terrible balance of all the melee weapons in the game, and since then, he has gotten significantly better thanks to perk changes and just general quality of life features on him, like invulnerability on his ground pound landing, and I would say he is currently a top tier class in the game. I think this class is very underrated. His Nova damage, otherwise known as burst damage, is incredible. He is part of the best team comp for Siege and really the best team comp in general for damage, like Tactical, Bulwark, and the Assault class, because a Tactical Auspex with Zealous Blow on this class will allow you to just one-shot pretty much anything in the game on 90% of the content. And
see, he mentions damage a lot in this video, and I can't disagree, but at the same time, I still see players struggling with his survivability. The ability, once again, is still being criticized as well. At least Sniper, you can turn invisible, which does help you outlast longer in combat. I find Assault ability just to be very niche. A very niche playstyle, and to be honest, I actually think it's pretty up there being almost one of the worst abilities in the game. There is another ability that we'll get into that's actually, in my opinion, way worse, but I think it's pretty up there sometimes because the way that the combat is in this game can be a little janky at times. So I don't think he's the worst class in the game now. I don't think he's the best class either. With my research and comments on Reddit, I found that, in my opinion, he is B tier. Next one coming up is the man with the shield. See, we talked about his skills for him like a bit when in the assault section, but Bulwark is a very tanky class. His ability restoring armor can come in clutch, and his weaponry is good. I would say I run out of ammo with this class sometimes, but it's nothing to worry about since you're supposed to be in the front lines in the team. The shield is incredibly OP, but a good shield user realizes that his shield can block range attacks and position himself to protect his team. A good Bulwark keeps the hordes off his range-focused brothers, and let the enemies come to them. So I believe Bulwark checks out all the boxes. Good damage, great survivability, and great support. I believe this class is an S tier. Tech Marine. This class is very interesting because I've seen a lot of players on YouTube or on Steam page questioning his rankings. Some say he is good, some saying he's the worst class in the game. I do find the class very squishy, but I actually like his ability, which does a lot of CC and AoE. I like the turrets, which ranks up a lot of kills, especially if my team is with the turrets. But that's also a problem. The turret placement is questionable, and I feel like the duration doesn't last long. There is some good turret placements in some levels, but in other levels, I find it the worst and I get no value from it. If I'm playing with randoms, my teammates will not back up, but rather charge forward like they're orcs or something without even thinking. Once again, leading my turrets absolutely useless. This is my take from my time with the class. I think he's better than the sniper class, and I think he does some great damage. I think the class perks are decent, especially if you start reaching the higher levels. So in my opinion, I'm going to rank him B tier, but I actually am going to put him at the end of B tier. I don't think he's at the C tier, I just think he's right there at the end. Heavy. Heavy really supports the team, especially with the range damage reduction that he provides. Even with his weakest weapon, he still performs very well. He fits well with pretty much every team composition, supports the team, does great damage, and arguably the second most tanky class, the first being Bulwark. I think the problem with this class is his ammo economy and mobility to get out of sticky situations. So if you really like range classes, I believe this class is for you. Even though personally I don't like the class, I can't refuse the amount of support it helps with the team. So I think it's fair to put him in A tier. Vanguard. Vanguard has high mobility, strikes hard, blocks, and parries everything. But in patch 11, he got nerfed a bit. I feel like nowadays he doesn't hit that hard, and I also get shocked when players say that he's better than Assault. I don't necessarily see that. I see his grappling hook a very buggy ability. And actually I was referencing this at the beginning of the video, because honestly, the fact is this, I don't really like his ability very much. I see that he was better in the past than he is now. I see some of the skills kind of like a must, so there's really no build variety with him. I find the class not really needed as well. I also understand, by the way, that his weapon selection is good, but I gotta understand, what role is he trying to be? Like a melee class, a range class? Like, why does he have 2 armor bars? Like, it makes no sense, so I'm really confused about that. It's a class I can see good because I do look at him kind of like that cavalry. You know, pretty much like if you're playing chess, you know, the horses, you know, their main goal in the chess game is to flank. So I look at him as him trying to flank. So, you know, I could see that. So, but someone said this on Reddit, and I'm actually quoting someone said it on Reddit. I can't remember the name, so I apologize for that. But someone said that they see someone, you know, describing him as like a sniper, but he is the bullet. And I kind of agree with that statement, but is he needed? To be honest, I look at him kind of like a C tier. I mean, he's really not needed. He's also very niche, but at the same time, he's not really supporting the team. He's not really helping it out. And it's kind of a tricky situation on how you want to play him. Very tricky. Because, you know, there are those elite enemies, and matter of fact, I actually would rather prefer the sniper over him. So I'm actually probably being overly critical with Vanguard, because even though I like the class, like if you're ranking on fun, he's great. But is he like meta? Is he needed? Is he great for team compositions? I'm not gonna lie, I don't believe so. I mean, I honestly think this class needs some buffs a little bit. I think the hook should be an increase in distance wise, so that way you don't have to move so close to the enemies. I mean, this is just my opinion, of course. I mean, I know somebody might say something different, because I know there's a lot of Vanguard people out there that like this class. Tactical. So the tactical class, he's pretty much like a glass cannon. So ranking him on survivability alone would kind of hurt his rankings. That being said, he has a lot of things going for him. He supports the team with damage. Some even argue on Reddit that his ability is probably the best ability in the game. I do disagree with that, because I think Bulwark has arguably the best ability in the game, because you're recovering armor and everything. But I gotta say though, this really comes close. So this is like the second best ability in the game, because it provides that damage. It actually, you know, marks down the enemies. A lot of stuff there that can really help you out. So I believe he really does does well with pretty much every team comps. Simply having him can make the level go into easy mode. Just don't expect him to be like the last brother standing, because like I said, it goes right back into him having very, very low health. But ranking him, in my opinion, I'm going to say this right now, even though his survivability is not great, he brings a lot to the table. So I honestly think he is S tier. I think he's better than the sniper. The sniper is actually, doing a lot of damage, but this guy right here actually provides damage for everyone. So I'm going to say S tier. But anyways, folks, let's actually now talk about PvP in Space Marines 2, finding out what is actually the best class for PvP, and even if there is actually a good class, since it is PvP and it's supposed to be very balanced, but what would be an S tier if we had to pick an S tier class for PvP? So let's actually get into that. Folks, the best gamer is back, giving you guys another tier list in Space Marines 2, but for PvP. If you like the PvP in this game and want to get people down, let me show you the best classes in this game for you to pick. But before we begin, make sure you leave a like, make sure you subscribe, and not only that, we do have a membership going on, folks, so make sure you become a member. It really helps a lot. It really will support the channel. Links are in the description. But anyways, folks, let's get into it. Tactical. Tactical is a great all-around class. The ability is to mark enemies and do more damage to those enemies, so stick with their team, but beware of the counterplay options, which is Vanguard. I will say, Vanguard is going to try to flank around and take out the special targets, which is actually one of you. You're giving your teammates map knowledge and damage, and it is a no-go for the Vanguard, so stick with your team. Attacks have good range options for every kind of matchup, can carry 2 pieces of equipment like the god tier shock grenades. He doesn't have any mobility options, and there isn't much of a ceiling to him besides refining your accuracy. Now that is why we should really rank him on S tier. Assault. Speed and mobility comes at a luxury in this game's PvP, which is why Assault is the deadliest class when used at a high level. Assault in PvP is an absolute nightmare to fight against with their fast movement and big burst damage. Assaults can pick and choose the fights he wants to take and attack from expected angles. He will always be the first to land or the first guy to stand on point because he simply is awesome. His skill ceiling is the highest among the classes. We all know about the airstrike spam, but Assaults can also hover. He can also air dash. Assaults can throw melta bombs by chunking them in the air. I believe this class is an easy S tier, putting it right above the tactical. Vanguard. I'm not very good at Vanguard, but if you know how to flank and you know how to pick your targets, then this class is for you. They don't have much mobility as Assault, but can get out of some sticky situations. He doesn't have the same potential for bursts or slash multi-kills compared to the Assault, but Vanguard can still be a nuance to deal with for players who know how to use his grapple for a movement tool. I do believe he is A tier. Heavy is a very simple class to play while still bringing a lot of value to the team. He's limited on how players can express his skill. Good players will use the Iron Halo with better timing or at more impactful moments, but his gunplay is less varied compared to a tactical. That being said, heavies who have mastered the plasma cannon and know how to play their range are extremely, and I mean extremely, annoying to deal with. I enjoy using the heavy class, so I'm a bit biased, but I heard some complaints and there are some counterplay if you're dealing with the Bulwark as well. I still think heavy is an A tier, but I can understand why he is a B tier since he has no mobility, and for that sake, with me being not really biased, I don't want to be biased here, I will put him in B tier, but I'm actually going to put him above, sorry, right here. I'm going to put him right here in B tier, my bad. Bulwark this class is a very tanky in PvP, and like I said with heavy, this is a perfect option to do some counterplays with those range classes. You block the bullets and defend your brothers. You're not picking this class for kills, but just for support. That being said, this class isn't as good compared to his early days. Players have updated their skill levels and knows how to get around a Bulwark. Assaults can come up behind you, or Vanguard can come up behind you, and I think this class is pretty much, I would say, at the end of A tier in my opinion. He's right there at the end of it. I still think he deserves to be at A because of his ability that supports the team, keeping his brothers alive. The Sniper. I think Sniper is really great in PvP compared to the PvE, because in PvP you're not dealing with hordes of monsters coming your way, but rather sometimes just single targets. You can deal with some heavy damage and you or teammates can finish them off. The invisibility is really an ability to get behind the enemy lines and flank your targets, so you can be ranking up those kills, racking up them kills. So, but here's the thing though, I just want to say, landing headshots in PvP is not the hardest thing to do, but snipers need to do it consistently in order to down his opponents. If a player can't do that, then snipers are basically a non-factor in the match. Snipers who use the bolt SMG and their cloak to sneak around and ambush players are annoying, but the average player that does this usually only gets 1 or 2 kills before they're down. At that point, you're better off just playing as one of the other classes and provide more value to the team. I really think Sniper still needs to be at B tier, but honestly, I would say behind Heavy. Now the Tech Marine. I think this class is very interesting. I don't really like his ability, to be honest, in PvP. I don't find it good compared to the other Space Marines abilities. You have to really think, because if you put down where you want your turrets to hit, and if they're out of that bubble, the turrets are not useful. If they're far away, it gives you, it gives them enough time to just roll or counter it and maybe move away and just simply don't get hit. They have to be like a mid-range distance. That's the best way I found to use their ability, and really trying to, and if they're trying to push forward too, because if they're pushing forward, it's pretty much like a death sentence for them. And as you can see in the background footage, I was killing some people, like I really was, but I had to really earn that, and I had to kind of use the people that were really like messing up. So if they actually were messing up their gameplay, I punished them severely. That being said, I honestly think that the Tech Marine is in B tier, right at the end of the Sniper. Actually, sorry, I won't do that. I'm actually going to do him right between the Sniper and the Heavy. I think he's in B tier. I don't think there is no C tiers in this PvP mode. But tell me what you guys think, and if you guys be so kind, become a member. Links are down in the description, and get some exclusive content. Now, we just finished talking about the PvP. We talked about the missions. But what would be a great class for Horde mode? And just solely Horde mode. And I'm not talking about those missions, because let me tell you, Horde mode is very intense, especially with the new update that came out for Space Marines 2. So, stay tuned. Space Marines 2, what is the best class for Horde mode? It's your host, the best gamer in the world, the man in the orange shoe, orange tie, and sunglasses, and all. And we're going to be talking about what is the best class for Horde mode and what's the weakest. We're going to be talking on hard difficulty on Horde mode. We're going to be talking about normal difficulty on Horde mode. So let's get into it, because this tier list is going to be insane. So coming up is Assault. If you're like me, you love that, handling that long hammer, dealing some damage to everything and everyone. The Ground Slam also does so much damage to everyone. I mean, let me tell you folks, I ain't gonna lie, when the Chaos Space Marines are coming out of that portal, it is time to slam them down. And also, if you have some perks actually can allow you to get the skill back relatively very quickly, or almost pretty much immediately. So keep that in mind, because Assault's really good. I mean, you get a lot of value with his skills. There's like no skill point, in my opinion, that's actually being wasted when you play this class in Horde mode. You can use his skill to just fly out, fly in, fly everywhere. You can fly to freaking LA if you want. I don't know why I said LA, but in short, this class is S tier. And if you want to go to a higher wave, you might want to bring this class. But now let's actually going to be talking about Bulwark now, because Bulwark is a little bit much more interesting. Bulwark you know, no surprise on what I'm about to say, okay? Placing the flag in the center of the horde can clutch the team, and also be reviving teammates is also a clutch, obviously. Given the fact he is the closest thing to a medic, I highly recommend him. I use the one-handed axe for him, and because I really love his shield, so blocking attacks is a great thing for him, and just keeping him like that tank. I think the class is good in whatever team composition you're planning on for hard mode. Horde mode, man, that seems like a tongue twister, let me tell you. Or even just normal horde mode in the game. By the way, he's arguably the best class in the game. So in whatever mode you play him in, he's just going to be ranked almost all the time in S tier, at least in my eyes. I think honestly he's one of the best classes in the game. Obviously you can actually make it a case whether or not he is probably better than Assault or Assault is better, but in my eyes I think Bulwark is better because he literally fits in every team composition. And honestly, Bulwark, you're going to always need a Bulwark to make the mission go a little bit easier, especially if you have a good Bulwark that really knows where to place down his flags and when to know when to clutch up. I think Bulwark does very well. The Heavy is a class that you have to play in a certain way. Have that Inferno pistol, for example, to create that distance and slam down on the ground, making sure to keep the enemies away from you. Needless to say, he can carry his own weight, but if he ends up being surrounded, that is what's going to separate a good player to the best player. Alright, I feel like some UFC announcer right now, I'm not gonna lie, but it is true though, because 9 times out of 10 you're gonna get surrounded in a horde mode. It's horde mode, for God's sake, and if you have the right gear and the opportunity to get out of there, you're gonna be fine, because you have to do some good damage output. You really do some good damage output, you know, especially if you're carrying like that minigun, just absolutely just shredding the bosses, right? You have some tools for you to push them back by a lot. That being said, this class is tough because I personally think it may be A or even B, because if you got an Assault and Bulwark as well in the front, taking all that aggro, that is where you're going to shine, and you can be looked at the A tier, but you're not always going to have that all the time. Something may slip between the cracks and get to you, so I'm saying it's B tier. As of right now, I think it's B tier. There is some other classes that doesn't have to be Assault and Bulwark, but there are some other classes that we will get into that can be up in the front technically, that can actually take some aggro if that's what you want to do. But I'm actually going to put B tier for Heavy. Let's just talk about tactical, because here's the thing. I gotta say this right now before we continue, before I continue reading this amazing script. The tactical, in my eyes, though, is a very, very boring class. A little bit, you know. That's just obviously that's just my opinion. You don't actually necessarily have to, you know. The class doesn't necessarily have to be fun, but it goes with it though, okay? But let's actually talk about it though, because in the tactical, you know, scanning, which highlights priority targets while increases the damage dealt to them. More importantly, it's late game perks, which reveals team grenades every 60 seconds. So if you're using the constant melt-a-bomb spam and the scan to evaporate those massive clumps of enemies and majors threats alike, you're really going to be doing great. You're going to be doing some damage, absolutely just shredding it out, right? Especially, it does mesh well with the Heavy as well, because it's more damage. It's a jack of all trades, really. You know, your teammates are going to love you because of the flow of grenades. It has such a power tool to have it in this game, that with, you know, having grenades, because honestly, you can use those grenades to actually throw it out, back up, you know, get some actually distance away from you, or actually you could throw the grenade in and actually maybe you might actually get someone that's stunned, so you can execute them and grab some health from another class, which we will talk about in a minute. But this class, like I said, it's a little bit boring in my opinion, but I can't ignore what they are bringing to the table. When a boss wave comes, a scan will save the day, because you may have someone willing to light that mother flipper up like nobody else. A tier for the tactical. But let's actually move that right here. Let's move the tactical right here on A tier. But before we continue, let's talk about something else. So stay tuned.
I wonder if there are any good memberships these days. Never really found any.
Whoa, you never found any good memberships? Look, man, I gotta tell you something right now. What if I told you that there's actually a membership that I have that's only $4.99?
Only $4.99 a month?
Yeah, $4.99, and you actually get 37 exclusive videos along with actually exclusive live streams.
That sounds like a great deal.
Yeah, it's only $4.99, and you can just join in and become a member right now. Links are actually just in the description. All you have to do is click on the link, baby, and you become a member. Now, when it comes down to the next class, Vanguard has the best perks in the game, in my opinion. And it also is like the second healer, because you can pick up a perk that can give teammates 30% of their health by executions. That being said, though, Vanguard survivability is something that I'm still confused on. To have 2 armor, and not only that, to have some okay weapons. And his ability is okay. There's just a lot of things that I don't like about Vanguard, but I understand why people may pick him because of his perks. That being said, I feel like Bulwark is a better option on the hardest difficulty, and a class to bring if you are concerned about your survivability. So I'm sorry, but I think Vanguard is a D tier as of right now. There was a point in time this class used to be an S tier, but as of right now, I think it's D tier personally. You know, patch 13 didn't really do much for him in my eyes. I look at Vanguard as a class that is still sitting at D tier, and honestly, it seems like it's going to be that way for a long time. And honestly, I hope this part of the video ages like milk, but honestly, I think it's just a D tier. But now let's actually move on to the sniper, because when it comes down to the sniper in Horde mode and even operations, right? I even ranked the sniper pretty low when I was talking about operations. But I feel like in Horde mode, there's moments where the sniper clutches up and saves the day and revives people. There's moments with his weapons that can do some serious damage. His melee weapon, though, is still the weakest melee weapon in the game, but I do believe that given to a good player, they can make it work. The fact also, with his team perk, Squad Renewal, is also such a great choice to begin, and also just bringing that in on Horde mode to make sure all the classes have their abilities to get out, or to use it in some way. That being said, though, I think it's better than Vanguard, but it's still a C tier right here. We're going to actually be putting in C tier. Now, let's talk about Tech Marine. Tech Marine in patch 13 is amazing. When Horde mode first released, there was no turrets. None. For quite a while, but now for the Tech Marine you can buy turrets, and it really synergizes very well now because there's perks that can help you out. I love that, and even though the class was a tad bit worse, but with this patch, in my opinion, it got it so much better. There's so much you can do with the class and so much build variety. I like using him in mid-range personally, so I'd be using the heavy bolter weapon and keeping hordes at bay, but if they start to swarm me, I use that skill and then I just slaughter everyone around me. Great class and an all-rounder, a class that I believe, drum roll please, A tier. I believe he's A tier right here. Honestly, super great class. I think this is a very great class for the Horde mode. All these classes right here, obviously they're all in my opinion. You know, some people might say that there is no D tier. I think Vanguard is just that bad that I think there is going to be a D tier, honestly. So I think Vanguard is not that great. But every other class though, like I said, in my opinion, I think in C tier, if we were looking at the C tier and going up, these are all the stuff that's viable. So if there's anything to take away from this video, it is that C tier, starting from C, going all the way S. So if you're playing on hard mode, on Horde mode, this is actually the most viable thing. But like I said, though, someone could actually make an argument that Vanguard is good because of his perks. But look at me. If you look at me right now, I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think the perks are going to be able to do it because there's just other classes that can honestly bring more value to the team. But anyways, folks, it's the best gamer of all time, and I am signing off. But make sure you watch another video. Make sure you actually watch multiple videos. Make sure you become a member as well. Best gamer of all time is signing off.